Oh boy, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Movie Night Autopsy, the show that's all about film celebrating and cultural talking abouts. I'm Chad.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Aaron.
And, okay, so the rule is no one's seen it, and what lucky person didn't see this movie beforehand?
Unfortunately, I had never seen this movie before. So
here we are.
So we had to watch it
Has everyone
to talk about it.
calmed down?
There's no coming back from this movie.
So no one's calmed down from Time Bandits?
You can't.
No, I am.
It's a Gilliam.
It is such a Gilliam.
It's a pretty hardcore
It's
Gilliam.
like, it's full
so-
tilt Gilliam.
So in the prequel to Brazil,
Yeah.
it's
It's more like the Silmarillion to Brazil. It's just all the stuff that's about, like all the definitions are there.
It's
And there's
definitely the same universe.
But there's not like a story.
yeah, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is worth talking about, but at the same time, like I don't know, I feel like this one might be kind of short.
We'll see. So, Time Bandits. This is like, what year? Like super early
81.
Gilliam. 81. Dear God.
And it shows.
Yeah.
With
16 years before the collapse of the United States East Coast.
So you feel like Time Bandits is related to like Predator 2 and
Oh
Escape from
yeah,
New York?
I absolutely believe that Brazil is what's happening in England at the same
Oh,
time.
that makes a lot of sense.
I 100% believe that.
No wonder we keep making like the same podcast over and over again. 'Cause it
Over and
seems
over
like
again.
We're just talking about the same movies at the same time.
It's a shared universe. So,
Yeah, the shared universe of the desolate future of 1997.
and then
So
at some point they regress back to
okay.
So,
This little boy's in the movie,
and
and
it's
that's kind of it.
Yeah, so
it's clearly a,
so Fred
a kid's
Savage.
movie.
British Fred Savage,
British
as John
Fred
pointed
Savage.
out, British Fred Savage
So Fred
has
Savage.
parents
Who
like Fred Savages often do.
they're obsessed with appliances and just kind of like not really aware of what's going on around
They're
them.
bad parents.
They're real bad parents.
They just don't pay attention. The TV's always on, and there's a show on the TV called "Your Money or Your Life,"
Which is quite literal.
and they don't explain it. You just see people like dangling from things,
Like
Yep.
they're gonna die
like
if they lose this
gonna
game.
be drowned in custard. It was a giant container of custard.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So it's this weird.
What a way to go.
I mean, you said this early on, man. It's like, yeah, it's the prequel to Brazil. It's just like, it's literally just
Yeah,
like
I imagine
these
this is-
stupid decisions people make
Yeah.
will lead to this dumbassery that is that government.
I imagine that this is probably what society looks like, about a decade or two before Brazil happens.
Yeah. Because
Like-
it's the
like
same
leading-
mentality everyone
Leading
has.
up to that completely wired up household that Sam Lowry.
Yeah, and just ducks
lives in.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And people are so dumb that you have to have so much government oversight and redundant paperwork. I'm just now realizing that's why there's so much paperwork in Brazil. Is that everyone's so
Yeah, it takes all the
stupid.
decision making away from you.
Yeah. You can't make a mistake.
Yeah, you don't have to make decisions. The
Yeah, 'cause
government
this
does it for
this
you.
thing always works.
But whereas Brazil deals with kind of a more realistic world, this is not a realistic world.
Wait, hold
It
on.
is
How does,
fantastic.
what do you mean by Brazil deals with like a realistic world?
Because
In
it's
what
a
sense?
it's a world where what happens actually happens. The only fantastic things
The dream pieces.
are the dream pieces.
It's
whereas
non-fantastic. Okay, yeah, I understand.
whereas this world is a fantasy.
It's nothing but fantasy. Okay,
Yeah.
you get like here's the deal. I
but
give.
is it? But is it?
Okay.
it's a
Because the end.
The end with where it
Spoilers.
stops.
Spoilers on Time Bandits from 1981.
It ends.
but the whole point is that the fantasy world is the same world that we exist in. It's kind of I think that is the idea behind it, where like you're supposed to think of it as it's a fantasy world, like a kind of Alice in Wonderland thing, but the fantasy,
A little bit, yeah.
But the fantasy comes and ends up being like, oh, this is actually how the world is, and it's fucking insane and out of our control.
Well, not only
Like
that.
rather than the kid going into the wardrobe like comes out at
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Which is how the movie starts. He's sent to bed.
Straight up attacks him.
Yeah, he's
And
a
crusader.
knight, right? Yeah, a crusader with his helmet. He's coming head and toe in armor. He's on a horse. There's a horse in the room, just horsing around. And on top of that,
What is this?
Okay.
You said it.
I know I did. I kind of did it on purpose. The it's just a really cool helmet that Knight has. It's like elk.
Yeah.
It's like a whole elk head.
Yeah, yeah.
So it kind of foreshadows a little bit of it, like kind of that later. No, it doesn't. Never mind. Okay then.
Okay, Chad.
I taught myself out of my own point.
Then the knight like charges out of the room and he wakes up and it was a dream all along.
Yeah. My room's not in an enchanted forest just by looking over from my bed. It's a wall.
But then he has pretty much the same kind of day as he had before. His parents are just
ignore him.
distracted and they
Oh,
adore
and they're
him.
obsessing over the chats they have are just asinine.
They're just about appliances.
Yeah, and
about
the-
our neighbors have this appliance.
Oh, and then she says, "Well, this one lady, she ended up losing this appliance and this appliance, and she was beside herself. She just didn't know what to
Yeah,
do."
you know, this
Yeah.
stuff is actually my favorite like stuff from the movie.
Really?
It's like, yeah,
Like the
it's like
banter?
it's just classic Gilliam.
Yeah. Just like
It is very Gilliam.
it's like just purely.
He loves
fingers.
he loves making vapid people look gross and just dumb as crap, and I always respect him for that.
Yeah, really
because
calls out.
he's very good at performing that. And
Thanks for all of the money that it costs to make a movie. Here's the movie I'm gonna make.
that's
So the
Python
kid-
for
what's
you,
the kid's name?
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
So Kevin.
So he stays up. He stays up.
That's good.
He sneaks a little kid adventure bag into his room.
Yeah.
Flashlight,
Go back, Junior
camera,
is what it is.
Hashtag up for anything.
and
Hashtag drink responsibly.
and so a small group of dwarves come out through his
Yeah, they're dressed like
wardrobe.
motorcycle pirates. I don't know what else to say.
like they've been in a mixture of different timelines.
Like they
is what their
came-
outfits were supposed to express.
Like they came from like a Mad Max world, but like one that was smaller.
Yeah, so their outfits are supposed to entail that they've been in a mixture of timelines. They have
Okay. That's why
they
there's
have
so much of,
weapons
like-
and whatnot.
It's like a walking flea market. There's so much stuff on them.
and so they like, but
It's like just so random.
Kevin stayed awake, so he's kind of like peeking at them, but they don't realize that he is awake. So they're just they're chatting about like, oh, they don't know where they are. So clearly, like, there's some mischief afoot. And
Some mischief afoot, you say.
Now, Aaron, you didn't. Okay, me and you have watched this movie before, and we don't remember because that's the type of movie it is. You don't
Yep,
remember
and-
what happens really. You
And
just know that you
I
went through
had
it.
just I had just never see it, and I had never seen it, and now that we are here, I realized that was a mistake.
But Aaron, you've also said that you had you've seen it 5 times, and
At
when
least
certain
5
When
times.
certain scenes come up, you're like, oh yeah, that's in this movie.
yeah, because it's so random.
Yeah,
the
there's-
stuff that happens just so random. It's
I mean-
similar to the
A
labyrinth.
lot of it.
yeah. It's like that. It's just all over
But
the
the
place.
labyrinth has David Bowie in it.
Yeah, true.
This has
The
some
labyrinth
pythons
has
in
a,
it.
That's true, yeah.
The labyrinth
And some of
has
the
a
Python
coherent
stuff
plot
works.
line.
Some of the Python stuff works, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
recurring bits with Michael Palin,
And Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. Yeah, those bits are hilarious.
Was
Yeah.
it Pansy? Was her name?
Dame Pansy.
Pansy?
Her name was Pansy. That's
Yeah.
her name in the movie.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
And throughout the
And
ages.
Vincent.
But anyway, these guys come through the wardrobe and they're freaked out by Kevin
because he shines a flashlight.
shining the
on.
flashlight, and
So
they're
they-
having none of that.
They think he is somebody who he
They
is not.
fuck his room up.
Dude, they
They
mess it
jump
up.
on
I
top
was
of him and try to
trying
start
to
beating.
hit him, and they're like, "Oh, it's a kid. We should stop after a minute." A minute, damn.
And then
Like-
they put him up
Yeah,
against
like they
the
had
wall.
weapons.
They beat up a kid for a while.
With weapons.
They had
It's
guns.
fine.
They had loaded guns that they had literally just shot like seconds before.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
and the
but- and,
parents
no,
are
don't worry,
just
don't
parents
worry.
are nowhere to be
But
found.
this
In a
isn't. Don't
comical
worry. This
way.
is a kids. This is a kids
It's
film.
a kids movie, guy. Okay,
It's for
okay.
the children.
Okay, here's the deal.
It's
this is a
for the
kids
children.
movie.
But they open up, kids movie.
This is a
But-
1981
But this
kids
had to
movie.
happen to open up the plot because then the wall breaks open because they're just like, "What do you mean you don't know what's going on, kid?
And
So they push him against the wall, and the wall starts to
moves.
move.
What do you mean you're the surrogate audience character of the movie
And then
who doesn't understand anything about the world that we're about to unfold?"
and then a huge white shiny face shows up out of nowhere, demanding that they return to the
It's
map.
the big giant head.
It's the big giant white
Yeah.
shiny
no, it's
head.
the guy from Power Rangers,
It's
dude.
Zordon?
It's Zordon.
Yeah.
Zordon?
It's Zordon.
I mean-
So he chases after them, and they push the wall until they fall through a hole and end up in Another time.
They push
It's utter darkness. They
push
right?
the wall
Yeah.
because they don't need no
I mean, it looks
education.
like the wall is.
Oh my
Don't-
God, you're the worst.
But it looks like the wall is stretching. This is where Gilliam's
Yeah.
camera tricks come into play. It starts to look like his wall that's always been there. Like Sam's wall has a bunch of posters on it, like and a bunch of albums and comic books and stuff. And then just that gets moved. And can you imagine running down this hallway that this thing creates for like 100 yards?
Well, it's supposed to feel very dreamlike in that moment,
Yeah,
I think.
pretty
is
much.
to kind of trick you into the feeling that this is all a dream and to get you into that.
I can't imagine why you think it would be.
Yeah. So they disappear into the
Yeah, literally by this point in the movie, I was thinking this must all be a dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And this is
they
the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
They
There's a whole lot of movie left. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
there's
sorry.
so much movie.
they end up in a series of very poor, tastefully performed jokes.
We're there.
In Italy, when Napoleon is invading Castiglione, I believe it was.
Here's the deal.
Oh
It's-
yeah, because Napoleon is portrayed as like a simpleton.
Who's just obsessed with his height and super.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
watches stupid little puppet shows and
Yeah, it's a whole
I
thing.
like to see little people hitting each other.
And so our
That's a straight up line from the movie.
yeah, that's so when the Time Bandits show up, they just pretty much pull like a Three Stooges routine.
Yeah.
time
Where they put on a
bandits.
show where they're trying to like do a song and dance, but
Yeah,
they're
they're bad at
stage
it.
is too crowded and they end up bumping into each other because they haven't
Yeah.
practiced. Now you know what happens if you don't rehearse. Stuff doesn't
Yeah,
go well.
I mean, you just
Oh, they didn't rehearse that?
No.
no, so they're bumping into each
Man,
other.
could have fooled me. I
and
thought that
then-
was a routine.
And then they start to fight, and then Napoleon is super happy
Super
about
into
this.
it.
And then there's a
Yeah.
suicide.
Yeah.
There's two
It's a
suicide
very
jokes.
1981 joke. You dig?
The theater owner, when he sees the act going on, and he's like, "Oh, this isn't going to go over
He's gonna
well."
kill himself?
He's about to shoot himself
Yeah.
in the head with
Yeah.
a revolver.
Yeah.
Revolver? No, it's
Or,
not a revolver. It's,
musket.
yeah,
It's musket.
It's a musket pistol,
to the head.
and then he decides
then-
not to when he sees our bandits. And
But
then
then
later,
he's-
he puts a noose around his
But
head.
then he goes for the noose
and then Napoleon walks through and says, "This is brilliant. It's the best thing I've
and
ever
pushes
seen."
him down, and then the noose is revealed to be connected to the curtain.
Man, that's a good, funny gag.
And so he's dead.
Visual things
That guy's-
happening, kids.
That guy just died.
No, he's not
Yeah,
dead.
you
He fell
haven't.
on the ground.
No, yeah,
I thought he was
he's just
dead.
on the ground.
See, like nooses don't work if they go to the ground with you when you.
I mean,
fall.
the character is dead. The
I mean,
character is dead. The
I
character is
don't care
now
anymore.
off of the screen, and he's
I mean,
gone
yeah.
forever.
Pretty much, we don't see him again.
So
So we can
Napoleon's-
have a moment of silence for the character.
So Napoleon's so impressed with their show that he makes them his generals.
And he gives them all the all the
Because that's how
uniforms
that
from his-
works.
Yeah, that's how that works. It's just like the military.
That's
they're
how that's how all the greatest generals in history,
Yep.
all the greatest leaders have
Yep, all theater kids.
conquered nations.
Yep.
So they get him drunk while he goes on a tirade about how all the great conquerors were short people.
Oh god,
So it's
this
just a
movie,
bunch of short jokes.
In a movie that's it's making a joke that doesn't age well, it really goes with it for a long time.
That scene lasted. Oh, and it was
It's just
it was Ian
uncomfortable.
Holm, who
Yeah,
really,
Sir Ian Holm,
who honestly,
a knight.
one of the
Well, that's
strangest things I've
appropriate.
seen him do.
Yeah.
So they all get him drunk, and then they put a bunch
Bail.
of gold treasures
Because they're time bandits.
in it because they're time bandits.
It's
Yeah.
the bandit part of the title.
So
this is
they,
the this
they
is
put
the
it all in a
bandit team.
tapestry, and they run to another
a
hole
time
in
hole
time.
because what they did, what happens is the reason they're on the run from the big giant head is they stole a time map that shows all the time
William
holes in
Shatner is
creation.
not in this movie.
Yep, that feels like he is.
Because as they say, you know, the universe was kind of a botched job because they only had 6 days to do it. So there's all these gaps in between the time space.
They're not great at it. So these were people
So they were
who
supposed
helped.
to they were
then
supposed
the-
to repair them, but instead
Yeah.
they decided to use them to get rich
so-
because money works in heaven.
But
or-
right before they jump through the
I don't-
time door, like the cast from Hitchhiker's Guide, the British series, shows up.
Yep. That's what happens. Did that one happen? No.
Oh, shut up. So anyway, so they steal a bunch of Napoleon's treasure, and they end up in medieval England.
times.
And they interrupt Pansy and
Dame Pansy and whoever Michael
And
Palin's character.
Michael
Okay, so this stuff
Palin
is
and
good right here.
Pansy.
Okay, this is Palin and like a lady in waiting, like just talking about how much they love each other and how much they've waited and they're engaged to be married. And she's like, yes, I've waited all this time. The way you came through the door was so manly. By the way, did you fix that thing
Did you
about
fix
you?
that problem
He goes,
that
yes,
you were
yes,
having?
it's fine. I've got it all taken care of now.
And you don't have to wear the
No, not anymore. No. It's all been handled.
And they didn't have to do any of that
No. That's all taken care of now.
because usually they have to.
I know, but
So they didn't have to.
No.
It's like
It's called insinuating the
clearly
scene.
something very terrible is going on with his penis.
Was it
What?
that?
Well, hey, hold on,
hey,
man. I didn't.
I think you're jumping to conclusions here.
That's a bit of a stretch. I mean,
So I hope the kids are having fun with those
the kids
jokes.
movie. This kids, but we kept saying
movie
that
for kids.
Because it's a kids movie.
We kept saying that every
movie
time
for-
there's a botched suicide attempt
There's
or some sort of crazy art thing happening, we're like, here you go, kids.
Or someone
movie for
has
kids.
has a Renaissance time STD situation going on.
Oh no.
So they end up appearing right above the carriage holding these two
In
individuals.
college, a carriage
Just-
crash. Statistically
Just
speaking, they should be
destroy
dead.
it, basically.
Yeah, they totally mess it up.
Is this
They
the
run
Robin
off.
Hood times?
No, yeah,
This is
yeah,
the
yeah,
Robin
this is
Hood
Robin
times.
Hood times.
Robin
We're
Hood
getting there.
times.
So they run off. The couple gets tied to a tree, and they just kind of walk by them, and they're just like,
Yeah, well, they
don't
encounter
even-
they encounter bandits, other bandits.
They get captured.
Non-time bandits.
captured by regular bandits,
Oh, so you just
regular
said-
ass bandits.
regular medieval bandits.
So you just mean bandits.
just bandits.
Just the bandits.
And so they're like, yeah, well, we're robbers too. And they're like, "Arr, arr," and they growl at each other for a little bit.
They're like, you're tough, we're
Oh,
tough, we're
yeah.
tough, you're tough.
I remember like as that scene was happening, it was right before they growled at each other. I was like, oh man, I hope they just like growl at each other for no reason. And then they did it, and I was like, are you serious?
They're just growling at each other.
And then we were all just like in fits laughing.
Yeah, because it's pretty
hard not to
absurd.
with that scene.
Like you have these time bandits like hanging there in a trap, and instead of robbing them, they just start asking them questions, and they relate to each other.
I believe they call it. I believe that on the streets, it's called talking shop.
Were they talking shop? A little bit of
See-
inside baseball talk there.
And what I love about this is this is when I could tell you guys were starting to question like the reality of this movie, and I was just like, oh yeah, no, this is where it gets weird from here. And then you can say that every 10 minutes. You're like, yeah,
And
this
you
movie
did
gets,
say that
you
every
did.
10
and
minutes.
it keeps
did.
being true.
I clocked you.
It
We
continues being true. Every 10 minutes, you can say, okay,
It was
yeah, I
exactly
know.
every 10 minutes.
It's weird,
On
but
the
it's
dot. I was impressed.
it's just gonna get weirder until
Bake a
it
casserole
continues to
this
get
guy.
weird.
That's ridiculous.
And then
You can bake a casserole to him watching this movie.
Just check on it every 10 minutes. Every time Aaron is just like, it's going to get weird.
And every time you said that, I believe somebody would respond with, "Oh yeah, because I was waiting for that to happen."
And then it just gets weird.
I didn't think we were there yet.
Here's the deal: the non-time bandits are like supposed to be tough looking, and like they got
This
like,
movie
crap
has
all over
been
his face.
vanilla up to this point.
They got like so much. They're trying to make them really think that they're tough and they're bandits. And you don't want to mess with them, and so they take the time bandits to meet their boss.
Guess who's there when they show up at the hideout?
Ah, yes, jolly good. Yes.
It's John
Oh,
Cleese.
fantastic!
It's fucking John Cleese.
John Cleese is in this movie, guys. John
Yeah,
Cleese is in
as
the movie.
Robin Hood,
John Cleese
as-
is in the movie, and he saves it right now.
As
For
the
all of about 2 minutes.
For about 2 minutes, he plays Robin Hood, but he
nicest.
calls himself
And
Hood.
most of his lines are jolly good.
Yep, fantastic. And what he's doing, it's like if the prime minister or like the duke of something like had a procession line that he had to talk to these people like a lacrosse team that went to the Olympics, and they're like, yes, and you play lacrosse, jolly.
Good. Excellent. Excellent.
And how long have you been playing lacrosse? Huh? Watch after the old Metag. Oh, jolly. Good. And he's just around these scoundrels of bandits. And by Robin Hood, we mean he looks dumb. Like it's like the dumbest looking Robin
It's like
Hood.
they went to a Spirit Halloween store and picked up the costume that said Robin Hood on it.
Yeah, but they made sure to get the biggest one because his hat could like serve fruit in it.
It's like the
It's so big.
1960s Robin Hood.
Yeah, it's like the Errol Flynn, really
Flynn,
bright,
exactly.
just
Yeah.
silliness.
Where he's surrounded by a bunch of like dirty.
This is
Disgusting
just,
scoundrels.
From what I understood, Michael Palin wrote this for himself because it's just so good. And I would like to see what that was like.
Well,
but
the best,
I really
the best
like
part of
Cleese
this
doing
whole
this.
sequence. I mean, that part was good, especially the "Nice to meet you, Mr. Hood."
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good sequence. But the best part is whenever he starts like he's actually giving their stuff.
Yeah, they're like,
away.
oh well, we're robbers too. Oh,
and they
fantastic.
and they showed off their loot, which is
Yeah.
like that's the number one rule in the game is you don't show off your score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're
Just
trying to
talk
like
about it.
hook
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
hype it up,
you
but
might
you don't show
you
that
might
shit.
tell somebody about your score. You might even embellish about your score, but you don't show your score.
You don't show like if you got a 16th century rug with all sorts of gold, and I'm pretty sure the Mona Lisa was in there.
Yep.
Like,
Rule number 2: don't get high on your own supply.
So basically, Robin
Exactly,
Hood
it's ridiculous.
gives all their stuff to.
yeah, he explains like,
poor.
yeah, we're robbers too. This is great. Okay,
then
well, we'll
he's-
take this and give it to the poor now. And,
they
they're like,
have
well, that's our
and
stuff.
they have people. They have the poor.
Yeah.
Lined up like
'Cause
just,
they
like
were just-
straight
they were
up just
there
in
waiting.
a line, and they're just like handing them like goblets with jewels on it.
Yeah.
Like here you go, jolly good. And then there's like a scary looking dude with like a face tattoo, who just like every time he hands them something nice, just punches them in the face.
yeah, because they're robbers.
And he's like, does he have to do
And
that?
and
every
they straight
time?
up got like a scary looking dude. And like made it look like he had like a scary face tattoo. Oh
my God,
He was threatening.
He was threatening. And right next to him, Cleese saying, Jolly.
Jolly good.
And
Thank you for coming.
There's something about the way that Monty Python does punches that looks way
looks-
too realistic.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I don't know.
Is it,
And then he
is it-
stops. He's like, "Is that really necessary?" And like they already established that he mumbles when he talks, but
Yeah.
there's a translator right next to him.
And he's just like,
Says it's afraid. I'm afraid it is, sir.
Oh, fair
'Cause-
enough.
Okay.
Jolly
yeah.
good.
So that scene happens.
And then the next
you.
person who walks up is an old lady, who then, of course, just like, and the look in his face right before he punches the old lady is so believable.
It's like, I'm going to knock the shit out of this old lady.
and then he knocks the shit out of the old lady.
That's up, dude.
And it's the
What is
best.
this movie doing?
It is the best part of the scene.
Oh my God. It's ridiculous.
This movie is heavily establishing tone and then disestablishing it. In the
Well,
very next scene.
like, you know, it's taking time not to establish things like a plot.
It's taking time to make time.
So they all right. Where do they go after here? Do they go to
It doesn't
Agamemnon
matter.
time?
It doesn't matter
yeah,
where they
yeah.
go.
So they have to. What's happening? Oh,
Nobody knows what's happening.
They leave- they
Are they on the Titanic? Is that something like
No,
that?
that comes later.
They leave because
Oh,
they're
God,
like
we're not even to the
They
Titanic.
split up. They split up. Oh, the big giant head comes for them, and they're like, "Well,
That
we'll
already
use the
hasn't
time
happened
map
yet?
to
Oh
go
my
through the
God.
time hole for the time thing." But there's two time maps, and British Fred Savage goes through the wrong one.
and it closes right
Exposition.
after.
Closes right
Yeah.
behind him. Yeah,
So he ends up in Agamemnon's time.
yeah,
and
like pre-civilization.
Agamemnon is in a fight with a minotaur.
Oh,
I guess it's supposed to be
Is
a
it
minotaur.
actually like a
because,
Minotaur?
That's-
because Sean Connery's been,
You don't know it's Sean Connery yet.
Sean.
So it's a dude. A dude is fighting a minotaur,
He looks like a centurion.
and the
This is
dude,
like the
the
dress.
dude's on the ground,
It's,
and
it's like a guy with a moose head.
the dude is on the ground, and the minotaur's about
It's
to
not a
kill him.
moose. It's a yak. I don't know.
It's
And
a
a
bull
bull.
head.
It's a bull.
But is
That
it
was
meant to
definitely
be
a
a
bull.
full minotaur or a guy dressed like a
It
minotaur?
again
It's-
looks like they just got an animal head from Spirit Halloween store and just put
Yeah.
it on somebody's
Why are
head.
you? Why are you trying to apply rules to this?
Oh, has it been 10 minutes
Universe.
yet? Jesus.
So
Yeah, I turned my timer off. I don't-
After the movie doesn't count.
yeah, I'm off the clock.
So the kid falls on top
Aaron's
of the
not.
guy. The kid falls on top of the guy. So the bull is distracted for a second, and then the guy throws a spear into his chest and kills him. So the
Watch
kid,
out, little boy. I must kill this minotaur.
The kid's what saved his life. He pulls his helmet off, and it's Sean Connery, and it's Agamemnon. And he's really not Connerying it up too much. to
No,
be
he's
honest,
just kind of sincere.
he's playing
I really
it pretty
like him
level.
in this, actually.
And
he's
like
really
of
just
all,
straightforward.
of all the movies for Sean Connery to play it straight.
Yeah,
I think he read the script and was like, I can't, what are you, I just got to read the phone book, I guess. Like, someone needs to, like, make this just normal.
for like 5 minutes
For
at
like
least.
5 minutes. It's not that normal. It's still dressed pretty
So
ridiculous.
Sean Connery as the Scotsman,
So
He's not a Scot.
he takes Kevin home with him.
who has played what was he in Highlander?
Oh, well,
Italian.
it's the same. No, in the same, he works for the Queen of Spain.
Spanish.
He's
that's right.
Spanish.
So
The
he's,
guy calls him a Spaniard or
he's
something.
played Spanish.
Okay.
But he goes, I'm not Spanish, I'm Egyptian. Because he's a
Oh, good God! So
Yeah.
of course. So of course, he's
Now he's playing
of
Greek.
course he's Greek.
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah, yeah.
And then later he's a fireman.
He does.
So,
Yeah.
he's just a fireman.
He's just
we're,
a fireman.
We're skipping to the end a lot.
That's what I want to do.
That's what you wanted to do the whole fucking movie. That's for sure.
Just skip to the end.
It is.
Oh my god.
But anyways, so what actually happens in this thing that technically qualifies as a movie?
So Sean Connery, Agamemnon takes Kevin back to, the capital city, and he's like, "Oh, I destroyed the Minotaur," and he throws his head down.
And the entire city's like,
Yay!
yeah, cheers for him.
So
Yep.
he ends up basically telling Kevin that like he's cool with it, taking him on as his son. Since he
Also,
saved his
I
life
found
and
this
all that
kid.
stuff.
He's cool.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
cool kid.
Hey,
he
he's
has
doing
this
the banquet.
random
He's
technology
cool.
from the
Guys,
future that
guys.
we know nothing about, but
He's cool.
he's gonna straight up take pictures of us in front of us, and it's a Kodak or
Yeah.
Plus, like, check
Polaroid, so
out the
people
way
can,
that he
like-
holds his pants up. He calls it a zipper. It's nuts.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
insane.
nobody's.
How does it even work?
I mean, I think they do.
Shout out
They do
Normal
dress
Dennis.
him up. They do dress him up in period clothes at one point. But anyway, so that shit's all happening, and he eventually decides he's going to officially adopt him.
Well, yeah, and he does it like so during the banquet. He just declares it louder than the normal conversation, and thus he has a son because who's going to mess with Agamemnon?
Well, first of all, he has masked men.
I mean, they'd have to be able to
grab
say his
him in the
name.
middle of the night,
No, it's early in the morning. It's
yeah,
super early in the morning.
and
I
blindfold
saw a
him,
clock.
put him on a donkey, ride the donkey
Oh, that
into
sequence was so stupid.
Yeah, it's like
into the chamber.
Yeah, you think he's getting kidnapped, but really it's like they're
did
bringing a
people-
horse indoors.
Like, did people have to buy tickets for this? Like,
And then
No,
it's
those people
obvi-
had to
Yeah,
go.
and when he takes the blindfold off the kid, it's actually a ceremony. It's like this weird
man, I
ceremony.
bet Ticketmaster
like
thrived
a-
back
it's
in
like an
Roman
I
times.
feel like
adoption
there's a
ceremony.
cutscene here. Because the thing that happens that you think is going to happen, and the thing that visually happens, you're like, huh?
You might
kidnapped
be
him for his
hoping
ceremony?
for too much.
He's essentially declaring him his heir.
If
and
you think that Terry Gilliam didn't just do what he wanted to.
they bring in a roasted bull.
Oh, yeah.
They bring in a roasted bull, and they chop the bull from like loins to neck.
It's like one fell swoop, and you think it's
And,
going to be
and
like...
it turns out it was like some
full
kind
of fruit.
It's full of fruit.
It's
You
just
think it's
full
going
of
to be like
fruit.
apocalypse
Cruel
now, but it ends
pinata.
up being fruit.
And inside of one of the melons, guess what? There's 2 doves.
Which means that they've put birds and fruit inside a carcass of a bull.
What is fruit in a bowl? Nose on a melon.
I think they were European birds.
Wait, I don't know that. Ah!
It's hard to tell. I mean, Agamemnon, that
Yeah.
was along the...
And how do the birds get the fruit to the bull? Anyway,
Yes, regardless, that just is a
just
thing that
it's
happens.
just a big spectacle. It's all in slow motion. It's just like a cool, like what you think like an ancient feast would be, like some sort of spectacle reaping fruit, because everything was so symbolic in like pre-civilization that they just had to. Where am I going with this? They just had to like have this scene in here of just like spectacle because the boy wants to stay.
I think it would be really funny if Gilliam actually did the effort to research what one of those ceremonies might have been like and try to replicate it.
No,
exactly.
don't
That
research it.
sounds like a lot of work and
Don't
stuff.
research it.
Gilliam's
Make
a
up better
crazy
one.
dude. I can see him doing that
I mean,
sort
the
of
kid.
thing.
I feel like the kid in the movie is Terry Gilliam because at the beginning, like Dana said, Gilliam was a history major. This kid's like when you first see him and his parents are ignoring him, he's studying like ancient history.
He's talking about real stuff.
He's just reading stories of the past and it's generating his imagination
So I wonder.
and getting things going.
So
and
when I see stuff like that, I wonder if that was an actual attempt to recreate something that might have happened back then.
think.
And I want to look into that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, it's interesting, but I also think like we're starting to see more of. Yeah, we talk about how the plot is like what the hell, but it's also like so pure, and like it's just letting like your imagination fly and then figuring it out like a little kid would.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so much like a kid is always just throwing every idea at the wall to see what works when you're young, like when you're having like playtime or just like, you know, on the playground or whatever. So when these things start to add, like they don't add up, like nothing adds up. Like there's a plot that's barely
How much
used.
time does a little kid think about like an awkward British guy trying to get laid by Shelley Duvall?
Apparently too much.
Apparently a lot.
Yeah.
According to this movie.
Maybe his subconscious does. I don't know.
Probably watches a lot of TV.
But you start to see like, this is very close to like this
And TV
Agamemnon
bad.
thing.
TV bad, according to this movie.
oh, TV very bad.
Microchips evil.
Because
and,
once they go on the hero's journey of journeys.
Oh, wait, we haven't even introduced something the movie forgot to introduce
They make
until
it-
40 minutes into
They
it.
make it to the land of legends
because that was so
and the temple of ultimate darkness.
we're
that was
Oh.
so strangely performed.
Well, like,
the
weird.
introduction of the villain of this movie.
And we're like, and then
it's
antagonist,
literally
huh?
Whenever Rita Repulsa makes her
It's-
entrance.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was Ivan Ooze, but
I don't-
maybe a
I
mix
don't-
between the
it's
two.
okay. You
he's
guys-
not,
okay,
he's
here's the
not
deal.
purple enough.
You guys both
not
say
purple
no.
enough.
I understand what both of you saying. You're saying Rita Repulsa because he's got all the ornaments around his head, right? And
Yeah.
all this stuff. He's saying Ivan Ooze because the guy's face looks like Ivan Ooze.
Yeah.
And
it's
also,
like a,
he's
it's like a face build thing.
He talks like he's like he's all like, oh, I'm so evil. I'm feeling very evil
but
today.
you know why? You know why?
I'm
This
going to
man-
go and commit some evil.
This man's name, his character's name,
Is evil.
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 And he's pure evil. Guess what?
And he
What's
does
his
evil
character
things. He
traits?
has minions.
He's evil.
He's evil.
And he's watching the bandits and the kid just kind of go with the time.
He likes-
In
the time
this
map.
smoking
likes-
pool of like gross looking water, he's watching.
He
them.
enjoys
Like, 'cause he-
short
because he's a
walks
medieval witch or
and
something.
heavily landlocked areas.
And he's obsessed with technology. He's obsessed with the concept of technology and progress and
And
machines.
because he wants to be successful.
Because he thinks
At what, evil?
because he thinks machines
Sure.
are the he thinks through machines
guy
he
needs
can
to team up with
conquer
Mojo
the
Jojo.
future.
Exactly. And he's got these minions that are stupid,
Just the dumbest.
and they're wearing this
The
plastic
dumbest.
garb over
Yeah,
themselves.
those ponchos.
creepy
these
like
ponchos.
rubber gloves.
Well, they look like when I saw those, they reminded me of the kids' living room furniture in the first scene, because their parents put that plastic shit
Linoleum.
on all the furniture.
Yeah, they look like the Harkonnens from Dune.
Yeah, because all the
Just
stuff
the
like
way
in the
that
in the
there's,
evil
like,
layer,
snuggling and
the
moving
evil
around.
the evil layer has all that stuff on it too, like
Yeah.
a Dexter kill room
Yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous.
in a kids movie.
Everything
and so
is
we
fucking
get
ridiculous.
a little bit more of plot. The bandits have the time map that they took from the Supreme
and
Being,
he
which
wants
is
the
God.
he wants the time.
And he
map.
wants it so to make everything more evil. And the time bandits think, well, our job
Well,
was
darkness is his only constellation.
to make constant.
Did we mention? Did we?
Hold on. Constellation?
Isn't that the stupid line from the
Are
stupid
you
movie?
saying constellation or consolation?
I always thought that the movie was so stupid that,
It said
that the opening line was constellation.
like as in as a group of stars.
Yes.
What,
And I was- and I-
what movie?
We're talking about Legend.
Legend.
With Tim Curry plays
No,
the
no,
Prince of Darkness.
constellation makes more sense. It's
Yeah.
just that like the movie is so stupid that
That he
I
says
just
something dumb.
yeah, it was just like whatever. Okay, fine.
First
He
of
says
all,
something that dumb.
That is
How
so funny.
Fine.
Dare you
These
call
movies are a lot
Legend
alike.
stupid?
These
Legend is a glorious masterpiece of
So, like,
filmmaking.
the
There's
movie-
nothing wrong with that.
Aaron's
movie.
turning a little red.
The
There's
movie is
nothing
so
wrong with
stupid
Legend.
that I
Okay.
just didn't question
So this other
that.
movie
As other
has another equally evil character in it.
just called evil.
Made
Just
by a
called
bunch
evil.
of British people like the other one.
So he's just
that's
hilariously
it. He's trying to get the map because he's evil.
and well, he can use the map to
Do evil
take over
things.
the future with technology.
Yes.
It's not very.
Oh, the future's gonna hate that.
It's not made clear exactly
don't think
what
he
his
has a
plan
great
is.
business plan.
If he has a plan, it's kind of those step 1 steal the map, step 2 question mark, step 3 profit plans.
Oh man.
So
A joke I made several times in the movie and felt a little bad about every
oh
time.
no, I liked it. I enjoyed
pretty
that.
much
I
for-
enjoyed it enough to steal it. You're
okay,
welcome. So yeah, so there's the devil is involved. But then he goes away for most of the movie. But
Well, until this point, we didn't
No,
think it
the
was in the movie
devil
at
is
all.
not in the movie. You're talking about evil.
The devil's
Yeah.
in Legend.
No, that was
is in
darkness.
That's the Prince of Darkness.
No, he was just darkness.
But this is more pure concentrated evil.
He's just evil. He's just evil.
Oh well, man, isn't like
Oh, man,
It's
glad
like
we
the
got that
planet. It's like
straightened
the
out.
planet from Fifth Element. It's just evil.
He's not a doctor.
he's not a doctor. Quit
He's
making the doctor
clearly
interesting.
not a doctor.
No.
He's very dumb.
I mean, yeah, he's just like well connected. He just like has a lot of stuff that helps him be evil. It's like I've been evil for a long time. I'm probably the best at it because eventually that happens, right?
I'm pretty sure that he has a yacht that his dad bought him.
Yeah, probably.
So,
He's got something to prove to Dad evil.
all of
Daddy
the
evil.
all of the little people, the workers, the helpers. I don't even know what you would call them.
Back at the feast, there's a presentation, right?
Yeah, they put on a show.
And it turns out to be the
Who
Time
put on a
Bandits.
show?
And they like no one knows it's the Time Bandits, but the kid knows it's the Time Bandits. The Time Bandits are trying to rescue Kevin. Kevin's like, dude, I kind of like it here. My dad's rich. It's ancient Greek times. This is rad. Leave me alone. And they're like, nah, you're one of us. And they do this crazy magic trick to get rid of him. And there's this really hilarious sequence where they grab him and all the gold. Oh no, they rob everyone, but
Yeah.
everyone thinks they're giving them their stuff. They're,
Put on a trick.
to put on a tray.
'Cause they're
and
gonna
this-
get it back
We're
or
gonna make this
something.
young boy and this tray of good stuff disappear. And they raise the curtain in the middle of the room, and then lower it, and there disappears all this smoke, and everyone's clapping for a long time. And then Agamemnon is the first one to stop clapping and
He
realize,
stands
hey,
up
wait a
and he ain't
minute,
too happy.
something's fishy, because I'm not 100% sure what happens next.
And then that's the last we
Yep.
see of
That's
him.
last to see him.
And then they end up on the Titanic.
He got bamboozled.
They fall onto Pansy and Michael Palin again
On the Titanic, yeah.
in the middle
Shelley-
when
Shelley
he's
Duvall.
about he's
so this
about to
recurring
propose.
joke of Michael Palin and Shelley Duvall is just the same joke forever, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just they keep bringing up how they're in love and courting and this thing, but they know a little bit too much about each other, but they're still very prim and
And
proper.
you know, I have a theory. I think
Ooh.
I think that that Terry Gilliam had some kind of beef with Michael Palin at around the time
Yeah.
this movie was made,
Uh-huh.
and just kept sticking him. Like it was just like, hey man, I'm gonna put you in a whole bunch of scenes with Shelley Duvall. It's gonna be great.
What you didn't tell him is, I'm going to beat you up a lot.
And Michael Palin was probably just like, ooh, Shelley Duvall, all right. This is 1981. She looks pretty good. And like, so like he shows up to set, he gets into the scene, and then just that happens.
Like-
He just constantly has a bunch of
Like, oh, no, I'm fine.
people thrown on top of
yeah,
him.
yeah. They just throw everyone on top of Palin, and I do know, like in all of my research of Monty Python and the documentaries, Gilliam has said that the one most frustrating thing about Michael Palin that he finds is just he's just so damn nice, and I think he's sick of it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, son of a bitch, right?
jerk should know better.
Yeah, come on, like trying to be nice to everyone all around the world.
He had it coming.
Yeah, seriously,
nice like
that's what
that.
you
No
get,
one needs
Palin.
that shit.
No one needs that. I got work to do. Palin.
So they interrupt.
Hey, Lynn, more like a pain in my.
So they interrupt the couple yet another
Not gonna say
time,
it.
but in a completely different time period, obviously. And then they proceed to use the loot from the previous time period.
Oh yeah,
to,
they're rich now.
Yeah, because you can just exchange gold for
Yeah.
drinks and entertainment on the
Ancient-
Titanic.
Yeah, antiquities.
You don't need tickets or anything.
Antiquities that are good as new. No one has seen in
I mean, it
millennia.
was 1911 or 1901. So I mean, you know.
It was 19. I think it was 1918. Wasn't
I'm
it?
sure there was a gold exchange
Was there?
place on the Titanic.
I don't know
yeah.
my Titanic.
So-
Are you looking it up?
I'm gonna
Okay,
look it
cool.
up now.
Yeah.
So
Good.
they all
I wanna know.
conveniently forget that, they're on the Titanic
Well,
and it's
like, okay, I have a theory about this. They're probably not worried about the bad stuff's going to happen right away because they're like, well, whatever. We'll just get that. We'll time map out of here.
but they totally don't do it in time.
1911.
And
yeah, that's the flaw in their plan. They don't do it at 1911.
1911.
Very good.
but at one point before one of the bandits had been possessed by evil to tell the others that they need to look for the most precious object in the universe and that it was in the time of legends.
Yes.
And they're
Some
about to go
plot
along
kind of
with it.
happens.
So they know this ahead of time,
of legends.
but they don't act on it. They don't act
In the
on
land
it at
of
the time.
heroes.
I think Kevin kind of talks him out of it, or like something.
He's
just
like, come on,
happens.
let's go on more
field of
adventures.
visions.
Let's experience things. And they're like, let's go get a doodad.
So, but that's going
Down
to
the path of fulfillment.
But that's going to become important really soon because obviously they make a joke about they're not.
the staircase of
Can I
hope.
have some more ice? And then the Titanic hits an iceberg, which
Yep.
they
You
made.
don't know. That's the joke. Is you don't know they're on the Titanic at first.
Yeah.
Until they ask for more ice.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
you
the
see
second
that.
that scene started, I believe that I looked at it. I was just like, "Are they on the Titanic now? Of course they're on the Titanic now."
So
And they just apparently, for being time bandits, they're bad at history.
I mean, maybe it's just because I've seen the movie The Titanic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't,
they're not
that-
particularly good at a whole lot. To
Not
be
really.
honest.
They kind of fall laterally, like across time and space,
And
not
the whole-
upwards or downwards,
and
just
the whole
laterally.
plot is that they
lot
are
like this
doing
movie.
this because they were fired for being bad at making trees.
Yeah.
Because they are incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of is like established that these are just like stupid things, and God is totally okay with having made these things. There's a plan.
I don't know, man. They're not great. It's not so much that they're bad at their job. I mean, like he said, like they gave us 6 days to build this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, that's not fair to build anything.
Well,
Nothing. Name something built in 6 days. Go ahead. Name it.
The first Doors album.
Name 2 things built in 6 days.
wait, no. I
Go
think
on,
he
I
said
dare
name
you.
something good built in 6 days.
Oh, you just get the hell out of here.
I said the first Doors album,
I think he heard you.
not the fourth Doors album.
All right. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
man. I'm derailed.
I'm not. Or I'm not sorry about it.
So they're on
But-
the Titanic and they get in a wreck. That's a light way of putting it.
I guess they forgot they were on the Titanic.
They're not, like I said, not good at history, and they end up on a door, floating, just like, what do we do now?
But
I
luckily, they're all very small, so they can all fit on a door, unlike 2 grown human beings.
yeah, you can't have 2 human beings, just one kind of drifting off to the side there, not for long.
So they come to the conclusion that they have to go to the Time of Legends, but the only way to get there is if they believe they can go there,
And that's not how they get there, though, is it?
because that's the rules, Sam.
And after this sequence, because they have to believe that they can go there, but they also have to believe that they can be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And you see, like, each one of them has to individually learn that anyone can be Spider-Man.
Which is difficult when you have like 7 Spider-Man.
so then you end up having sort of
Spider-Man.
like a Spider-Man into the Time-verse.
Yeah.
But they're small.
So they end up believing hard enough so they can go.
I think I broke Chad.
So they can go into whatever hole sends them to the Time of Legends, which they get there.
Was this the Kubrickian like type of effect stuff?
Yeah,
That was
no.
like, yeah,
this,
okay.
this was the two.
It's like flipping the negative and shooting it in reverse.
we took a little detour in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
crazy color trees.
not
For
too long.
1981, they still work.
They put the shot down, flip it, and reverse it.
And so we got to enjoy that for a little bit, and then we're introduced to
Yeah, the ogre and the wife on the ship. But then it turns out that the ship is on the giant's head.
no. So he drags them. He drags the guys, the Time Bandits, aboard with a net, and
Yeah, they're just in the water.
They offer to help his back because as he's trying to put him in a pot, like his back's hurting.
To
So
eat
they're-
him.
They're like popping his back by stretching him out, and they end up throwing him overboard, and then basically doing the same thing with his wife.
But on the,
wait,
but
so
on
they
the,
helped
but on the
the- wait.
bright side, like the water is really good for the ogre's back.
But
Yeah, no,
but
he's
hold on.
definitely
So
having
they
it.
helped the ogre stretch. They unmessed up his back.
Yeah.
They're being really helpful. And when the wife shows up, they're being helpful to her. And then like turn on a dime, they just throw them overboard.
No,
Time bandits.
she's looking over the side of the boat, and they sneak up and like knock her out.
Knock her out.
So they were just trying to commandeer the boat. But to be fair, they were going to eat them. Like she was
Oh, yeah.
preparing a very large knife
oh
to
yeah,
cut
yeah,
them
yeah.
into pieces.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, that's
Just
just
like
that's
like
where their
you
movie
know.
is going.
yeah.
Yep. And like just because the movie's not
Bandits.
weird enough already,
The movie starts to get weird at this point.
It's like, yeah, so like the ship sails away and you're like, okay, yeah, so the ship sails away, I'm with you now. But then the movie's just like, what, is this too normal for you? Well, we'll show you. And then,
The boat
then
gets
a giant
lifted,
emerges from the ocean
and he's
wearing the ship as a hat.
Yeah, like
as
he had
one
been,
does.
As one does, sir.
but he'd apparently been doing so the whole time because it's like strapped to his head.
See, like, so it's strapped to his head. I thought that was like a weird, like paint, like battle thing.
Oh, it might have
for
been.
a giant. And part of me thought the giant was underneath the water anyway, and decided to get out of the water
Just
at
showed
that
up.
time.
So does
Just
the giant
conveniently.
It becomes
does
a
the
hat?
giant breathe air and water?
well, he definitely breathes water.
Look, I think we're asking a lot of questions about a
Does
movie.
he just have a huge lung capacity?
I think
That's
we're
fine.
asking a lot of questions
Well, no,
about a
he's got a
movie
small
that
one.
clearly
giant.
has no interest in giving us answers. So regardless, the giant takes them onto land.
Well, he kind of more or less just goes on land.
Yeah.
And they end up going with him because they have become a
They
hat.
concoct like a poison or
They,
something.
they put a
and-
sleeping potion
Oh
inside
my
of a
God,
billows.
this
They
movie.
stick the billows
This
into
movie.
his skull,
into
and
his skull.
and
he's
inject
like, "That's smart."
sleeping potion in his brain.
It sounds like the 9th track on a Mastodon album where the concept is taking down a giant.
Yeah.
That's a pretty rad concept, dude.
And like in track 9, that's whenever they inject his brain with a sleeping potion.
Essentially, yes.
That's
So the
that's
giants-
Hold on. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
a
we
cool
should talk about
concept.
that instead
That's
of
a cool concept, like for a Mastodon to do an album. They always
Yeah.
have cool concepts
yeah,
for the album.
Mastodon. They need to make an album about taking down a giant. And track 9 can be about injecting the skull with
Yes.
a sleeping potion.
As we said, this would be one of the best cosplays ever because absolutely nobody would get it.
I mean, like,
it
I
would
don't
look
think you know how
hilarious.
cosplay works.
If you're a big dude,
It would be
just put a ship on top of your head and wear and wear very
He
little
had some goofy looking
He had like
pantaloon
those giant
things.
earrings too.
pantaloons.
His ears were pretty fucking goofy looking.
Yeah, they were
I don't
goofy
know
looking.
how-
Pantaloons.
Oh, guys, hold on. We forgot. When he walks on land, there is a house.
Oh, a house where
Oh, it's the living embodiment of a Terry Gilliam animated sketch.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
people talking. You just hear,
it was those elephant from meaning of life.
Is it for meaning of life?
From Meaning of Life, the Find the Fish skit. There was a guy that had a goofy elephant nose.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah,
it was
yeah,
basically
yeah.
a family of those
There's
guys.
a family of those guys.
And the
The
giant
butler.
The giant
And
comes
the-
up and the butler with the
Oh,
goofy
how you
elephant
love
nose
that
thing.
A fishy.
Oh. Where did that fishy go? And it went. Only I did know.
You went wherever I did go.
So yeah,
That's my impression of that guy.
so that
You're
happened.
buying in 2 halves of coconuts together.
So essentially, those guys, a family of them, get stepped on,
Yeah,
including a
And
crying
you
baby.
see it coming for a while.
Kids movie.
It's foreground is the
it's
house.
just a kids
You see
movie.
the giant
movie.
coming. Foreground, the house is in the foreground. You see the giant coming. You're like, well, he's not going to step on this. Surely he won't step on this house. And then
Oh,
after a
he
while, you're
stepped
like,
on the
you're
house.
like,
There's a crying
he's gonna
baby
step on
inside.
that. Yep.
He stepped on the house.
And then the
pretty
baby
dope.
That
stopped.
baby ain't crying no more.
That baby does
Kids
not
movie.
cry after that.
Yeah.
So
Damn bandits.
So they put him down with a sleeping potion, and he very very kindly takes the boat off of his head and sets it down before he passes out.
Was this when I walked out? Of the
He
room?
got that. He got.
That's why I missed this
stepped out
part.
for a
I kind of
second.
at one point
Well, of course
I
he
got
took
upset.
that. Of course he took the hat off gently. He got it from the mole and from the nice one too. He got it from the one with the lids in it.
Oh my God, Sam.
What are you on about?
So
What are you on about?
they travel through
Just
the
a bloke knows a nice hat when he sees one.
so they travel through a desert of dead animal
the second thing.
skeletons
It's the
for
second
a little
thing.
bit. And they're kind of getting pissed at each other because they are not finding the place they're looking for until they run into a glass wall Where
Oh yeah, they're in
literally
the
just,
desert,
like-
and it's just they just kind of keep walking, and then their face is over against glass.
Which I love the way that's shot.
it's really
because
cool.
It's at them,
I
and
like
so
it
you
a
see
lot.
them run into the glass wall that the camera is behind. And
I like it a lot.
That was so hilarious the first time you see it, which you know now since you've seen it for the first time.
Yeah, but the good thing is you're probably gonna forget that because this is that type of movie. There's so much going on, you forget the little details. So next time you watch Time Bandits, you're gonna go, oh yeah, that's
Oh
thing.
yeah, next time.
So the bandits get into a fight, and mostly it was just Wally and what was the main one's name?
Not Fidget.
Not Fidget.
I only regret having not seen it once
Randy?
before,
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Randall?
Randall.
but only once.
No, okay, so Randall is the main one, and Wally is kind of like his second in command.
He's
sort
like
of dude.
he's the guy with the big beard and like the curly hair.
I got them
He's
tough.
a tough
and I got
guy.
the big
I'm
beard.
tough. Yeah.
Yep. So basically, a fight starts between them because he's like, "There's nothing here. There's nowhere else to go." And so Wally ends up throwing a skull at Randall.
Because no, it's the other way around. Wally wants the map, and they all jump off him, and he gets the map, and Randall's like, "I'll kill you. Give me the map. Give me that fucking map." And he's
Yeah.
got a skull, and he
that's
throws it
how-
at him, and then it breaks the glass, and they realize that they've been inside this weird, like prism of like just desert and desolation.
Yeah.
That's made of glass, and then they walk out into what can only be described as inside the mountain where the Balrog lives,
Yeah.
or Balrog. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
in like Lord of the Rings, it's just like
Balrog.
it's just like so cavernous and weird.
They found the timeshare. They found the timeshare that Bowser and Dracula shared.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's
So,
that one. They're
it's-
trespassing.
It's just the most evil looking place
Yeah,
that you can imagine.
You can't see the sun,
It's just black.
so they're like, "We'll
Into
go
the
in there."
castle of ultimate darkness.
Yeah.
And so-
Across the drawbridge
See-
of extreme indifference.
This movie does that. It's like the main guy is called a supreme being, that like the castle of infinite darkness, the chasm of unfortunate things, and it's just like
The trinity that binds all things.
terms they use are so broad.
it's not.
and-
It's not subtle.
It's not subtle.
It's not worried about being subtle.
It's almost like, dare I say, a child came up
The
with this.
hammer that hits the nail on its head.
Yeah.
It feels like a Terry Gilliam movie to me. Oh wait. So
Makes sense. So they go in there and they're like, and they finally see the what's it called? The most favorite possession, or the most
no,
the ultimate thing.
there's a game show host who's going to give them the most wonderful
and it's
possession.
basically the commercial from the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
of just this super duper
And there's
unnecessary electronic.
There's
product
like
for
an
your kitchen.
audience, and
they
there's like light,
they kind of got to
game
do
show
that
lights.
thing that you got to do in Legend of Zelda games sometimes, where it's just like a maze-like trail of a straight line. So like you can't
just
make
go.
you can't make a mistake and fall off. You kind of
Yeah.
got to like plan your steps
and
wisely.
the bandits are like running. They really want it. The kid's like, it's just a dumb thing. Like it's just like a piece of cheap plastic or something.
and
This is pointless.
the kids in the back just like, it's a trap.
Yeah. Well, also the kid doesn't get why they do this. Like the kid doesn't get why they go steal stuff.
Well,
the kid
because
doesn't get why they all want like possessions.
'Cause
What
he
you
loves
want
the-
like money for? It's just like, bitch, we got bills to pay.
he loves the adventure, and
It's all about, he's a kid. It's not about money yet.
and he's
Netflix
explained
be
multiple
knocking on my
times.
door every month. You don't understand.
He's explained like you can go anywhere in time and just have adventures, and you're worried about stealing stuff. Which really, like, why do they want stuff?
Yeah.
What do
And this great powerful thing they want is just another part of
What
stuff.
do the minions of a supreme being need with?
If I
money?
don't have stuff, then what do I show off to people when they're in my house?
You gotta have a place for your stuff, man.
So, yeah, so he's basically yelling at them
Capitalism.
not to. But once they get there, he's like, first I have to see the map. That's the thing that made all of this possible. And of course, as soon as he gets the map, it's revealed, oh, I'm evil.
It's the guy, the character evil, who is
character
also
evil.
happens to be evil.
And then
wanna
they're
straighten that out.
immediately locked in a cage,
Yep.
hovering above an abyss.
And can we talk about evil for a second? What he looks like.
Yeah.
So it's the bad guy from Tron. I forgot his name. He's a
Oh,
British actor.
that's
He's
who it
really
is.
good.
You're right.
He's covered head to toe in like
shit.
evil red garb and these weird skull like things on his shoulders to make him look more menacing.
It's
and then it's like a ski mask and like
something coming out of
like
the back of his
a
head.
freaking face hugger.
It's
from
a
Alien,
face
but on
hugger
the back of his head
and
it
hooked
always-
up to his spine.
Yeah.
He looked like if a dude was cosplaying as Rita Repulsa. That's what he looks like.
Yeah,
to me.
like he just grabbed
he
whatever
really
was like in the
does.
house.
He really does.
Like he didn't
And you know
study
what?
much,
And
he
you
just
know
grabbed
what?
stuff.
If a dude were to do that, then you do you, bro. You live your best life.
That's the beauty of
Like,
cosplay. As long as you try.
As long
it's
as you're
fine.
doing your thing, man.
Yeah, just do your
It's-
thing.
It's
what you wanna
good
do.
because it's
But that's what the guy looks like. That's what
it's
that's what the
supposed to
villain looks
look
like.
ridiculous, and it pulls that off very well.
Yeah. Too well. A little bit too well.
Oh, okay.
Too well.
Too
So-
well.
Too well.
They're locked in a cage, despite all the rage.
They're in the cage that Thor was kept in it at the beginning of Ragnarok, just hanging in a chasm of nothingness.
He wasn't hanging in a cage. He was on
He was
a
in
chain.
a cage. No, he was in the cage first.
He was on a
The
chain.
cage
He was
was-
on a chain.
Yeah, but right before that, he was in the cage. He was talking to the
Oh,
skeleton.
you're right. He was in a
He's talking
cage
about all the
before
different
that.
adventures he'd been on to get to that point.
Oh,
And
I'm
then the bottom of
sorry.
the cage opens and he drops down a
And
chain.
and I know
Despite all
this
my
is,
rage, he was.
and I know this is going to be a deep cut, but it reminded me of the cage
Just
from
the Thor in a cage.
Another World. If anybody ever played that game, it's an awesome
That's a
game.
deep cut.
That's a
I don't even know
y'all
that.
should play that fucking game. It's so good. Anyway, so they're in a cage, and it's very small and obviously hanging over a pit of infinite darkness,
Like one does.
and
As
have to
one does.
they have to figure out a way out. The kid realizes he's got Polaroids of the map because they lost the
It's in
map.
his adventure bag.
So they're like, yeah, it's his adventure bag, and they realize
The
like,
adventure
oh,
bag is the real hero of the
there's
story.
there's a
With a
huge
flashlight and a camera in it.
there's a huge time portal
That's the real time bandit.
emerging from like the
adventure bag.
center of this castle. So we just have to get
It's
to
like the
that,
bike
and
and
we
the
can
hero.
go anywhere. And so, and so yeah, but they're like, yeah, but how do we get out of here? So they
So
decide to.
Take rope that's taken up because it's a very strong rope. It's
Oh
a
god!
dense rope.
So
This,
they
this
cut-
scene is so long and so monotonous, and just like it's such fabricated tension. And
So they cut the rope that they're hanging from
so
on the cage
they
and use that as
swing
a-
from the cages, and they eventually get somebody to the other side, and then
But
he just
they're
like
not sure.
holds onto the ledge so that they can all swing over, and then one of
was,
them almost
what do you
dies,
call
but then he
that?
doesn't die,
What do you call that?
like a zip line.
Zip line.
And-
Yeah, zip
and-
line.
That was
Yeah.
pretty cool. They just
Yeah.
hop on a zip line and zip line on
That
down.
scene took way too long to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it took a minute.
I could see you were getting frustrated, and I was like, "Oh, you're getting frustrated with the scene.
Strap
Get used to
on
it.
in.
You're gonna
You're
get-
gonna be
you're
here
gonna be
for a
real happy by
while.
the end
Yeah,
of it."
I remember that. I remember that.
See, you know, this is where the movie starts to get weird. So,
Oh, right here. Oh, right here.
Is that familiar? Do I look like I did? Am I starting to look like that now?
You got that really uncomfortable, confused
Kinda.
look on
so
your face.
Wally
Kinda.
almost dies trying to grab onto the rope.
Because the cage falls, they're trying to escape from.
So there's
but he
like
doesn't. They get him back, and they're all just
there's
like,
like
"Yay!"
six. There's
and
like
then we move
6
on.
seconds where you're like, "Wait, is Wally dead?" And they're like, "No, Wally's fine." And it's like, what?
they take the 6
What?
seconds to look over the ledge
Oh
in
my
a
God.
wide shot.
I don't think anybody
so
was concerned of to whether or not Wally
Oh
was
yeah,
dead.
that wasn't happening.
They dedicate no actual like effort to creating tension in that scene. It's just literally like they don't tell you right away. That's their tension. They just haven't told you yet.
So you don't automatically know what's happening,
Yeah, it's just.
as opposed to being really good at guessing it.
And then the movie just moves on.
So Kevin convinces the rest of them that they can't just leave. They have to take the map because otherwise evil will be able to take over the world or whatever.
Evil.
So they concoct this really
With his indiscriminate motivations.
ridiculous plan to
That he was
somehow
nefarious by nature.
get people from all different timelines
All
to
different timelines, man.
to come to their aid in fighting evil. So there's like, you know, there's a handful of like ancient Greek soldiers, the handful of knights. There's
Some
There's a tank.
cowboys
there's a
to
tank,
show up.
There's
There's a tank.
cowboys and
They
a
show up,
spaceship.
and they're trying to save Kevin.
Spaceship with
right?
lasers.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the coolest one. Is like the space. It looks like a sled,
Yeah.
like a snow sled.
Yeah.
And then they like glued like a hot glue gun on top of it.
Yeah.
And then put on some twirlers and then spray painted that shit blue and then throw on some sparkles and boom, spaceship. You're
And
welcome,
point the light
movie.
right at it. It'll be really shiny.
And it
Keep it in the
one,
background.
at one point, one of the bandits gets turned into a half pig, half person.
Oh yeah, like you do.
And then he gets turned in to a full pig. So don't know why
As one does.
As one does.
I really don't know why they saved it to be like, oh, he's a full pig now. It's like, the half pig was bad enough.
I feel
Why
like
don't you just-
Terry Gilliam really likes
Did
like
he only
props.
have the pig for half a day or something?
Maybe.
Probably.
But the thing is, Gilliam likes props.
The pig
and
was
weird-
also dinner.
weird costume designs. So the pig person thing, I think he wanted to do the pig person thing because there's always these like ominous, crazy things floating around. And
Yeah.
like we talked earlier about the weird elephant guy from Meaning of Life and just all these weird designs. I felt like he wanted that, but also he understood it would be better if he was a pig. So he said, "Screw it, let's do both." I feel like he was just like, "Let's just do both."
A pig, a piggy. Oh.
Pause.
Where did that piggy go? So evil proceeds to defeat each of these, foes.
In the most absurd ways possible.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It looks awesome when it happens.
It was clever. It was imaginatively done.
Like cowboys throw ropes on him, and he begins to spin around like a carnival ride.
And then he brain bugs the situation.
Yeah, his head like pops open, and this crazy knife comes down, and it cuts the ropes. So the cowboys go flying. What's the one with the arrows? Is he inflates his body to look like a cherry tomato?
He
and then
Willy Wonka in the
shoots-
chocolate factory
exactly.
himself.
And he shoots the arrows back. Yeah.
The knights he like
Mustard gases.
gases. It just creates a gas.
Oh, you had a great line
puts
for that
on
one.
a
What'd I say?
World War
Because,
I era
like- 'cause,
gas
like,
mask.
chemical warfare
The,
in a kids movie.
the little guy runs back fine. The horses run back fine. You're just like, oh, it must have been anti-night gas.
Yeah, you just like
And
like Fidget runs. The horses are fine, and when this like pink smoke clears, not only are the knights dead, they're all impaled on spears through each other in a weird concoction.
Nothing like the smell of anti-night gas in the morning.
Anti-night gas. Well, these damn knights are everywhere, Sam. Someone's got to create a gas to get rid of them. If only I had some anti-night gas.
So then they try to shoot at Evil
Went to the
with
brown
the
table.
tank and the spaceship, and he starts bouncing the shots off of his hands, as you do.
As one does. As one does.
Yeah, he starts like
And then he takes control
using
of
the force.
he takes control of them and has them start shooting around
He was using
randomly
the force.
to like kind of fuck with everybody, and they're like, "Oh, we can't control them," and he's like, "Of course you
Pretty
can't."
sure most of this movie exists just to kind of fuck with everybody.
No, here's this line.
The cast, the crew, my brain.
Here's this line. They're like, "Oh, we can't control them," and he's like, "Of course you can't, you silly little man. I control them."
Oh, that's right, because they're weapons.
Exactly.
That
And
had
weapons
to
are
be
evil.
Terry Gilliam speaking from
That
through
was
the script.
That was the most heavy-handed, like
It's
like
one of the
writing
most-
in this
yeah.
movie. And like when I first saw it, I was like, I was like 23, and I was like, well, that's pretty.
you get it?
That's cool. That's so edgy, man.
You get it? It's like that scene.
Oh
in,
man, the devil's in charge of weapons at
Yeah.
war. Oh, I feel so edgy.
was
Now
like-
it's just
Nobody
like,
likes you when you're
okay, yeah,
23.
all right, fun. Okay, good job, Terry Gilliam. That's sufficient writing. So,
Well, let's it was 1981.
You know,
Let's put it
like-
this way. I'm sure kids got it.
You know, like
and
whenever
really, this is, if nothing else, a kids movie.
It's a kid. It is a kids movie.
Well, we
just made by
said
Terry
we
Gilliam.
said we were going to watch this movie. I had never seen this movie, but I heard it was a Terry Gilliam movie. So my reaction was just kind of like, hey, even whenever it's a bad Gilliam movie, it's not really bad so much as it is just weird.
Yeah,
And this movie qualifies as that.
yeah. It's
Just
It
like
goes hard in the Gilliam.
it's just like
Hard.
if
he's got to get all these things out of his system before
if I was
he starts
Gilliam's
making, like,
neighbor
stories.
and this movie came out, I'd be like, hey man, that's good
Everything-
job, man.
Everything all right at home?
They probably. I feel like you probably wanted to make something weird, didn't you? And you'd probably be like, "Oh yeah, well I want to make something kind of just that was like
It does. So,
like a commentary on existentialism in modern day society." Just like, hey, well that's kind of just what you say to everything, man.
Just turn Terry Gilliam into Tom Waits. What the fuck?
Yeah,
It's only a model. That was his voice, man. That's what he said.
yeah. That's what it sounds like.
But okay, so
God shows up.
So Fidget is crushed horribly beneath a pillar.
Yeah, and thank you. It's Kenny Baker
No, none of this matters.
from like
It's supposed
we're
to.
almost done.
It pretends to matter, and
Yeah,
that's
so it's
enough.
the guy who plays R2D2 gets
That's
crushed by a
what
pillar.
every movie does, Aaron.
So there, a pillar.
It pretends to matter.
A pillar is hit by.
And
I
then
think-
everyone
I
collects
think it
their
was a tank
paychecks and
shot.
goes home.
Anyway, so like it's knocked over and Fidget is crushed beneath it
And they're really upset.
because he's like very
Raleigh's
viscerally.
Raleigh's like
crushed.
acting his ass off. He is just super like he's ready to fight him with his bare. He's ready to fight pure evil with his bare fist.
And they're all holding him back.
They're all holding him back. He's like, "Let me out."
And
he's
just before Evil's
losing
like
it.
about to shoot his evil powers at them,
It- yeah,
he
become-
just kind of is turned to stone
and explodes.
and explodes with lightning because
God showed up.
Big
Big giant head. The supreme being showed up.
I believe his character's name in the movie is Mac Guffin.
You're a cocksucker.
Oh my god.
So
No, we need more time to pause on that one.
I mean, my Deus Ex Machina joke was bad enough.
Oh yeah,
That was
yeah,
just-
it was. And it was.
It was
but-
bad. Like I wasn't gonna double up on it, but you just so because the movie has no idea what to do anymore,
It decides to pull God into it.
God shows
and
up.
end it.
and he turns Evil into a block of stone and destroys him with a lightning bolt, and he explodes. And
And then he goes from being big, giant, scary head to nice English guy.
yeah, just
And
very
he's just like, oh, I'm so that's
just
so
very-
it's so
just-
much spectacle. It's just propulsive. I can't stand it.
kind of mildly perturbed with
Yeah.
the problem. He's just he's not really.
Mildly perturbed.
He's
Yeah.
just he's
That's
just
the
he's
best
just
way to do that.
But
wishes
he's
he
not
didn't have
one
to
for
be going through
theatrics.
this.
He's not really one for theatrics. Just occasionally he needs to do that to get the job done.
It's like you know how it is. I gotta sometimes I gotta show up as a giant glowing head, but I just let's get this done. Clean up this mess.
Watch out.
Clean up this mess.
Get started now, and they have to physically clean it up while he brings people back to life with a blank.
They're like
the pig becomes
Fidget's dead, or like no. First things first. The
While I
pig
demonstrate
just
how
immediately turns
easily
him.
things can happen
And they're
with the
like,
snap
"But
of my
Fidget's
finger, you
dead."
guys all go to work.
Yeah.
But Fidget's dead, and he's like, dead. That's no excuse for lying down on the job, and lifts up
Brings
the
Fidget
pillar,
back to
brings
life.
him back
And
to
they're
life.
like, Fidget's alive,
That's
and
it.
they're like, Fidget, get back to work.
It's
dude.
like, yeah.
pardon me,
Welcome
sir.
back to Earth. Start digging.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the
Army of
kid
Darkness.
starts asking a lot of questions to God, and God's like, yeah,
God doesn't really have time for this shit.
not really. He's like, of course. He
Somebody
reveals
get
that
this fucking kid away from me.
he reveals that he allowed the time bandits to steal the map.
Yeah, he let them
pretty much
borrow
let
it.
them borrow it to do their thing, and he'll let them come back and work for them.
I
No
think
longer-
he's just saying
of course,
that.
Yeah.
because of course he knew what they would do with it, and he knew it
Obviously,
would bring.
he likes them and likes having them around because they get into like just shenanigans, and like and he just puts up with it. It's just like he just keeps him around because I guess he likes him or something.
But it suggested it was all a test for evil. Like he was testing evil out.
That's right. Because he's
And
like
they're-
he's making them clean up the parts of evil
Yeah, and
and
he's like,
putting him.
put
Oh,
him-
that's really funny.
In the bank.
Put them in the. It's a mailbox. It's a
I
red
think-
British mailbox.
Yeah.
It's really
think-
funny.
Savings bank on it.
Is there savings bank on it? Oh, that's so funny.
I
But
think,
the whole point. Okay, go on. Go on.
I think
Yeah. Don't.
that at this point in time in the movie, that like what we're dealing with is a movie that someone should have just been like, go home, you're drunk, like an hour ago. But now it's far too late for that. Their keys have been taken away, and they're currently on stage slurring their way through Barbra Streisand.
Oh man.
But wait,
And it's just a total wreck, and you feel really bad for it, but like it's not your place to stop it.
there's more.
It's not
more.
like you can just walk up on stage and be like, honey, no, don't.
Yeah, you can't just
stop.
be like you quietly call him an Uber and you go, hey, come over here, and then eventually you shove them in an Uber.
Like, you wish you could do that. You wish someone had done that much sooner, but you can't do that now.
Yeah, it's too late for that. It's just awful. But then, like, God just says something. What's God say to the kid?
All right. Well, okay. God goes through a couple of things.
Have fun living without parents.
No. He let.
Don't
okay.
you jump ahead, sir.
He.
This is a well-crafted plot, and we have to get through it beat by beat, so we don't.
He
learn
basically
anything.
explains
Are we
that
almost there?
Yeah,
It's
we're
an hour and
basically-
15 minutes. Are we almost there?
We're
Okay,
almost done.
let me get through.
Let him, he's about to finish it.
He explains that he let them have the map so that he could test out evil, so that he would end up destroying him. And it's kind of weird. And the kid's like, "Why would you do this?" And he's like, "Why would I do this? Why?" And you might as well ask, "Why would I let evil exist?" And he's like, "Okay, well, why would you let evil exist?" And he's like, And he walks behind a pillar. And he comes back, and God says, "It's something to do with free will."
Yeah, he's just
And
like,
that's that.
yeah.
That's the end of that conversation.
I'm pretty sure I know
Very
the
Terry
answer.
Gilliam. Very Terry Gilliam.
Yeah,
I
it
do
doesn't
appreciate that.
He doesn't give you like. It seems like God knows the answer, but to save time, he's just like kind of gives you like this one thing.
It'd be
Yeah, it's just like, oh yes, it's something to do with this.
it'd be way too hard to
Close
explain
enough.
this to. So, they end up collecting what they think of as all of the pieces of evil, but they end up leaving a little chunk of it underneath this thing that they don't notice. And
It makes the boy start coughing because it creates a smoke.
well,
thing.
no, the smoke's kind of coming out from everywhere.
Yeah.
And it becomes weird, like, wait, where is the smoke coming from? And God is sucked up with the minions. And then he wakes up in his bed and the house is on fire.
Yeah, and these firemen break through the door and save him.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Stepping all over toys.
You might
which-
get what you're after.
you. But these firemen are stepping all over his toys, and you're seeing, everything he imagined, everything we saw in this dream, is from his room. It's from his brain. It's a
And there
total
was,
dream.
and we forgot to mention
what
there
happened.
Yeah, it's like pure subconscious.
there
just
were
run amok.
straight up Legos in the big
Legos were in like the evil
climax
place.
scene.
Yeah, and like there's cowboys.
And we did
there's a
discover
tank.
even earlier than that this kid is a monster who leaves Lego bricks on the ground.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
look,
All the like so it's just a kid about
doesn't make
history.
you a monster. It just makes look. I did that.
If you leave Lego blocks on the ground, you're a monster.
I stepped on my own Lego blocks. I had it coming. I don't blame anybody.
Well, you should blame yourself.
I don't. I do. I don't
do you
blame
do or do
anybody
you
else.
not?
I don't blame anybody else.
You heard it here first, folks. Aaron's a sadist.
And then he goes outside, and he's taken outside. He's saved by Sean Connery, who's back as a fireman.
His parents are arguing about something trivial again.
They're
That they
arguing-
didn't save the blender.
They didn't save the blender. And
And
then a
he-
fireman's like gives them an appliance, and they're like, "This is what caused it." And they're like,
They're
"Well, I
like,
didn't do
"Oh,
this."
I
The
didn't-
microwave, and they opened it up, and a little cold
Dun,
brick of
dun,
evil was
dun.
inside.
Yeah, yeah. And
And they
he's
both
like,
touch it and disappear.
No, he tells them immediately, don't touch it.
touch it,
And
it's
they
the
look
evil.
at him, and then they touch it like a couple of fucking dumbasses.
like a couple of fucking beta cuck bitches.
And then they both
Just-
just explode into a pile of smoldering nothing.
and then what happens after they explode? Sean Connery,
cameras-
fireman, gives our kid a wink.
like everything's
hops
gonna be
up,
fine.
Like, well, this is all good, right? And
drives
drives
out.
off.
Everybody hops in their emergency vehicles and drives
And
away,
then the
leaving the
camera
kid,
zooms out from
leaving
the top.
the kid parentless. No parents. His house is on fire. He's just standing in front of it in his front yard. And the camera's just panning upwards, and all you hear is Barbra Streisand's "People,
It's so and the movie
people
ends.
who need
and
people."
Here's the deal. Like I was getting nervous at this point because I'm like, I thought this was over, but more weirdness is happening. A movie, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Movie, what are you doing? No, oh my God, those aren't the credits.
Are the luckiest people.
Those can't be the credits because what the hell was
makeup
that?
just pouring down her cheeks.
yeah, just
Her hair is a wreck.
Oh God.
She's not wearing her heels anymore. She took them off. She's barefoot.
Yeah, she texted her ex. That's never good.
Like 3 of them. And then the credits roll.
Credits roll over the movie.
Look, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was a very happy ending. I'm just kidding. That was fucked up.
What, did you feel the pressure on?
No, but
flip-flop like
when
crazy
I
there.
first saw it, I saw it back in college.
I can see this
And-
being one of those movies that if you didn't see as a kid, seeing it in college, you're like, well, here's all these things we can talk about.
Yeah. And you're like, when I first watched it, when I was at the end, I was like, wait, you're not allowed to end a movie like that. And the movie's like, well, fuck you.
Someone
I
call
am.
the movie police.
I absolutely will.
Yeah, I don't
And
care.
what are you gonna do about
you
it?
do? What are you gonna
Not
do?
watch me?
Yeah,
Too
you already
late.
watched me. I'm-
Here's the credits. Fuck
Funny
you.
enough, like the audience is the movie police, and they're really bad at justice. Funny enough.
Yeah.
Well, I like what this movie is trying to get across.
There's a lot of really
Agreed.
interesting ideas. Like I talked a lot of shit tonight, but
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
but I do appreciate that
Yeah,
it was
you really did.
that it was a Terry Gilliam movie.
It's like the movie owed you money.
I love Terry Gilliam, and it's very much a Terry Gilliam movie, but it also just goes so off the
Well,
rails.
it's so
often.
off.
It's
Well,
actively fucking with you every step of the
it's
way.
just I don't think I
Which
don't
is
know
par for the
how-
course for a Terry Gilliam movie.
Here's the
In
deal.
some
Is it on
but
purpose? Is it on purpose?
But that's the thing. I
Or
don't know.
did he not care about
I don't know
plot?
how much is on purpose. I don't know how much is like, okay, well, this is 1981, which we're capable of.
Yeah.
I have a hard time picking it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know if it's just that I saw Brazil whenever I was younger, so I didn't think about it as much, or what. But like, it doesn't hold up to Brazil.
No, Brazil's a classic. It's like I like this movie a lot.
But he's got more films than Brazil. But
Yeah.
that's definitely like, to me, that's his opus.
I
And
had my issues watching it today because we watch a lot of movies and they all tend to like have, a story to them, and there is kind of it's a broad story, but I do believe it's meant to be broad so that kids can understand.
Because it plays out like a kids movie.
It is a
Like-
kids movie. It's
like
just
it goes into some very dark themes. Like I mean, like his kids movies today, they will kind of like.
they'll pander.
I mean, a little
Yeah.
bit, sure, but they know that parents are in the audience, so, so a
They
lot
don't
of kids
upset them.
movies try to give something to the parents too.
Yeah.
But still, there's kind of like that line that they try to
Yeah,
stay on one side or the other.
it's like an old kids movies, like how Indiana Jones movies are technically kids movies. Like it's a pre PG-13 rating, so you can get away with a little bit more.
Yeah. Guys are shooting people.
Yeah, and it's just like there's suicide jokes and there's all this other stuff and there's implied
ripping hearts
sexual
out of people.
things, and it's not to like so the kids will find it funny or the kids learn anything. It's so the parents watching with their kids will have something to laugh at.
Yeah, and this movie is definitely a product of its time.
Yeah, it's
it definitely didn't age great.
Nope, but what it does
It
accomplish,
could have aged a lot worse. There's other things that have aged worse.
it's not like watching King Kong or something with like. I remember one time we watched King Kong and you looked at me and you said, "Hey, dude, are overtones a thing?" Because this movie has a lot of overtones of things that just make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that bad, but
That's a situation of like the guys that made King Kong. They had no intentions of making any kind of comparison to the things that I was making a comparison to.
Yeah.
And this has been like said like amongst filmmakers in Hollywood even. Like there's footage of Tarantino I think talks about it. It's like it doesn't matter what you set out to do. This is what you did.
It's like intention only means so much.
Yeah. Sometimes like this just creeps through because this is a part of the culture of the time.
Yeah, and
that's what you're embodying.
Yeah, it's a trope, like Dana said. You can get through it, but I give this movie a lot of credit because this is a thing we don't see a lot anymore, and you kind of see it. I can think of one movie in the last 20 years that did it, and the movie has plot problems, so a lot of people didn't see it. This movie, Tomorrowland, that Brad Bird made, it's all about kids'
Yeah, George
imagination.
Clooney was in that.
George Clooney was in it. It's all about kids'
And
imagination.
Brad Bird, man, like he's the
dude can direct.
Simpsons legend, The Incredibles.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Iron Giant. Mission Impossible 4, which was really good. I really liked that one.
That's right. He did
Yeah.
Iron Giant, and Mission Impossible 4.
Same guy.
And that's one of the good ones.
It's about inspiring kids to have a great imagination to come up with these things, and this movie does that. I would show this to kids. I would show this to my kids if I had any, because it's like it sparks their imagination so much, and so much was going on. I think Terry Gilliam tapped into that, but he tapped into that as an older guy. So the darker stuff that you deal with it when you age creeps out anyway. Like
I
you
imagine,
can't help it.
and that's the thing. Like,
But
I'm
the
sure,
kid might as well have been named Terry in this movie.
I'm sure that's true.
Honestly.
I'm sure
That's what I think.
that kids would have a great time watching this
Yeah.
movie. I'm sure that kids like
If you talk to kids from the time,
it's easy for us to dwell on those dark themes because we're well aware of them.
and so jaded, aren't we? Ridiculous.
No, us, no.
I mean, we grew up with worse shit. Like we grew up with
Yeah.
But
And
if you
that's
talk
the
about,
thing,
if you
like-
talk about, if you meet like a 40-year-old who saw this in
Like
theaters
if
when it came out,
if
they're
a
like,
kid
this is
sees a guy
rules.
put a gun to his head, they're just gonna be like, that's funny, that's cute. Like
Yeah.
they're not gonna think it's so fucking dark because that guy just about blew his brains out with a fucking gun.
Because he's so tired of Napoleon making him like do a puppet show.
Because he knows that this is a better fate than the fate that awaits him after this show is over.
Yeah, which is dealing with Napoleon.
Like,
But,
that,
like-
yeah. A kid's not gonna think about all that. A kid just thinks funny joke and laughs. Like, so I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe we're just old and thinking about things too much.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I really like this movie.
I do like it. Like we talk a lot of shit, but talking shit's fun.
I talked a lot of shit, but I had a good time.
Actually, I do like it.
I said this
I
to
think we
you.
give
I
like
said
the-
this to you before. I knew you were going to enjoy it, but did you like it? Genuinely like it?
I feel like I enjoyed it more than I liked it, but
Okay.
I enjoyed it enough that you know what, I'm glad we did this. I'm glad
Yeah.
it happened.
Good, because
Yeah.
that's kind of how I felt
But we
going
also
into it.
recorded like 10 minutes, 20 minutes after we watched it, and we were just kind of because we watched so many movies.
Oh no,
We were all over
be fair, be fair. We calmed down. We played some Mario Kart.
Yeah, we calmed down with
Oh,
Mario
yeah,
Kart,
that's
which
the
is
best way to calm
usually the
down.
opposite.
Speaking of which, I think that the cart might be calling.
Yeah,
Not-
Or
well,
something.
folks,
or
that,
something.
that cart's a calling, so we got to hit the old dusty trail. But what do you think about Time Bandits? Does it hold up for kids? Does it reek of imagination, or is it too much? Is it too much of a product of its time? Is it not enough a product of its time? I don't know. Leave us a comment. Let us know.
Somehow it's all of it.
It's all things and nothing. That's Terry Gilliam at his best, folks. But hit us up on the YouTube, like, subscribe, iTunes, Google Play. Check out our website. We spend a lot of time doing it.
Rate, review.
Rate, review.
Please.
It's like whatever. I don't know if there's a Yelp for podcasts, but I'm sure we're on it. And if you can,
No, iTunes.
that
Google Play.
iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, really
Yeah.
kind of that.
Do it.
Rate, review.
Wait, hold on, Aaron. What'd you say?
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Gilliam.
Gilliam, do it, Gilliam.
I can't wait to hear how this gets edited.
Do it, Gilliam. Make a weird movie. Do it, Gilliam. Make a weird movie. But for Movie Night Autopsy, I am Chad.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Aaron.
Thank you for listening.
Do it.
Do it. Do it, Gilliam.
Gilliam.
Make a weird movie, Gilliam. Do it.
You
I am
don't, you
evil.
don't have to tell him to do that.
What's up, crew? If you got any idea of what you would like for us to talk about on The Minute or on Movie Night Autopsy podcast, hit us up on the social medias. You can hit us up on Twitter at movie_autopsy. Check us out on Facebook at Movie Night Autopsy. Always feel free to email us, contact@movienightautopsy.com.